Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Kermitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week we watched 3 more episodes of Season 3 of The Muppet Show. Surprise, surprise. These are the episodes that aired between January 25th, 1979 and February 8th, 1979, featuring guest Elke Sommer, Danny Kaye, and Lesley Ann Warren. And we also watched the one and only, thankfully, episode of the Orson Welles Show that was completed in February 1979. It's kind of, there's not like a solid date because, again, never aired anywhere for the sake of humanity.
No.
But yeah,
He's
so
going to come get you.
Well, he's long dead.
He's going to break through the veil. He's going to pull you into the phantom realm.
Oh, if there's anyone I don't want to be haunted by, it's definitely Orson Welles.
He would be so boring and annoying. He would sit on your sofa and watch TV and be like, Matthew, The Mandalorian, it's a great show. It's redefining the concept of what it means to be a man and a father.
And a DeLorean.
Yes.
Yeah, no, you'd hear that creepy voice booming and you're like, ah, shit, a ghost. And then you like listen to him talk for 5 minutes and you'd be like, this is the most boring ass ghost. This is what I have to be haunted by the most boring ghost in the world.
Matthew, I've knocked your Lego sets off of your bookshelf. I apologize deeply.
Your Saturn V rocket is slightly askew. I apologize. Oh, man. Well, I mean...
Actually, it'd be kind of fun now that I think about it.
Just living with Orson Welles' ghost.
Yeah.
I feel like there's like a one-act play we could write based on that.
I was going to say, I feel like there's a whole sitcom we could write based on that. Which also wouldn't get picked up from pilot, I don't think.
No, but it'd be a hell of a pilot.
Yeah.
We could get Maurice LaMarche to play Orson Welles. So he's just doing brain voice the whole time.
Damn.
What's the name?
We have so many good ideas on this show.
Is it just called like Me and Orson?
Orson and Me. He gets top billing.
It'd be a very fun like 80s like an Orson and Me.
Yeah, and he would just have like a blue glow applied over the actor all the time. That's how you would know he was a ghost.
Just like a very slight effect that barely says ghost. And
yeah,
like,
that
okay,
doesn't really always like follow him very well as he walks around, but he wouldn't walk around too much. He's Orson Welles, for God's sake.
Well, I think our feelings on Orson Welles are becoming, apparent as we talk here at the beginning. And we will definitely talk much more about Orson Welles a little bit later. But before we get into that, it's...
Oh boy, here we go. What do you got for us this time?
I'm not springing anything on you this week, Sam. I just wanted to highlight that rarely does this podcast sort of, line up with what we're watching as far as like the calendar year goes. There have been times we've had to watch Christmas specials at the wrong time of year. I think we have a John Denver Christmas special coming up that we're going to be watching in like March.
We had to watch him at Otter on Halloween.
Exactly.
Disgusting.
So I wanted to highlight that this week we are recording this episode on January 30th. And that falls, boom, right in the middle of the dates that we are watching this week.
Yes.
And so we are looking at stuff from exactly 43 years ago. And it's that thing where, like, sometimes I forget how old some of the Muppets are and, like, just when these things were happening. And the fact that, Kermit is coming up on, like, his 70th birthday or something in a couple of years.
He looks great, though.
He's holding up well. I'm sure the original Kermit puppet is probably, touch it and it turns to dust immediately.
It's sealed up in the Smithsonian or something, right?
I think it's at one of those, like either the Center for Puppetry Arts or the Museum of the Moving Image or
Right.
Smithsonian or one of those. But yeah, so it's I just wanted to mention that it's rare that we align with what we're watching. And, try to put yourself in the headspace of 43 years ago, people just sitting there watching this old Muppet Show content.
Yeah, I think about that when I'm writing my recaps, like what it felt specifically to be a person in New York watching the Muppet Show, hearing the taxis beeping outside of your window. And also the 70s in New York was tough, Times Square wasn't cleaned up yet. There was, according to movies, lots of murders.
Yeah,
there was that's really true. But...
deranged clown running around, dancing to Gary Glitter down the stairs of Brooklyn or wherever.
No. Yeah, and then he started a big riot after he killed the talk show host on national television. We all remember this.
We all remember. But I also wanted to highlight that, 1979, we are fully into this, the year of the Muppet movie now.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the year that Jim Henson writes in his journal, in all caps, freehand, a very major big year.
You wrote that before the year started? As the year was starting?
I don't actually know when he wrote that, but at some point he referred to 1979 as a very major big year.
Interesting.
Which, I mean, yeah, you have the Muppets' first theatrical release movie coming out, so pretty big year.
So let me ask you a question about that real quick. By now, did people know, like there were trailers for the Muppet movie playing, right? Like people knew it was coming, I'd assume. There was like was Muppet Magazine out yet or whatever it's called, like that fan magazine?
I don't actually know if the magazine had started yet. I think the main thing we were getting at this point as far as like other content outside of TV was the Muppet Annuals, which I might have been a UK only thing, that are interesting. You can go read most of them, I think, on Muppet Wiki. They have scans of them. But they are the annual like magazines they would put out every year that was sort of like a what the Muppets are up to, but also included some good like original comedy in those. So again, they're worth checking out if you want to go track them down.
1983 was when the Muppet Magazine started. So
yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, and I don't know enough about like movie history as far as like trailers and how early they started to roll out, or if people were surprised when they were like, "Wait, a Muppet movie that's coming out tomorrow? Ah, shit!" Because obviously we have coming up in our little chronological order here, Kermit's just about to host The Tonight Show in April, ahead of the Muppet movie coming out. So they gave him a little bit of notice because we have the Muppets Go Hollywood. Like they're doing that like ramp up promotional tour.
Right.
So yeah, I'm assuming it's either around this time or a little bit after this time that people are getting fully aware Muppet movie coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know when they would have announced those things back in the day.
What else happened in 79 to make it a really, what did he call it?
A very major big year. Yeah, and like honestly, it's kind of interesting when you do look at it. Like, I think like obviously the movie carries a lot of weight as far as making things a very major big year. But you also do get, Big Bird does a Bob Hope special in China. Kermit hosting the Tonight Show obviously is a pretty big deal. This is also the year that they do the John Denver Christmas special. Not that necessarily added a ton of, very major to the big year. But I think having like a Muppets Go Hollywood TV special, the Muppet movie come out, the Muppet Show is still like blowing people away in the ratings. And, Sesame Street's still going strong. Apparently they came out with a bunch of fun merch this year. There was some Muppet sneakers that came out from Keds in 1979 that I'm like, I bet those are either really hard to find or really expensive to get.
Oh, they're cool.
Yeah, they're like the little Keds. They look like mostly toddler sized.
Yeah,
I don't know that I'm going to be able to fit into these, but I do like that Animal gets like his own shoe.
You'll have to have a baby just to buy him vintage shoes.
I mean, that's why you have babies, right? To dress them up in cute stuff. So yeah, I am excited to talk about 1979. We have our 1-year anniversary episode coming up at the end of March, where we'll be rediscussing the Muppet movie. And yeah, I think this is going to be, we're setting the Muppets off on quite their, explosion into pop culture. Not that they haven't been already very much in pop culture, as we hear, I think, in this batch of episodes. They talk about the millions of people who watch them every week. And yeah, they're very, very famous already, obviously. But we're going to be diving into the 80s soon, where we get full-on Muppet fever sweeping America.
Yeah, they're household names now. They probably were household names already, but they're like ingrained in pop culture at this point.
Yeah, I think there's very few people who aren't aware, and very few people who aren't like fully accepting of the Muppets as part of just the pop culture now.
Yeah.
Whereas before, they're a little bit maybe more on the fringe, and people are like, oh, yes, I've heard of Muppets, or oh, yes, I've seen them on something before, but maybe not fully enjoying them.
Yeah.
Whereas now you can't escape them. So, Sam, why don't you tell the people what we watched this week?
The time, January 25th, 1979. The place, New York City. You consult TV Guide, switch on the tube, and are greeted by Elke Sommer. Elke? They say it various ways in this. I assume when Kermit's saying it, he's saying it wrong.
That's also my assumption, is that Scooter is right and Kermit is wrong. And I don't really have a good reason for that to be the case, but that's just, I trust Scooter.
I just feel like, who's that actor? Who's the guy who plays Scooter?
Richard Hunt.
Yeah, like he would have asked her how you pronounce her name, and Jim would have just been like, we'll
I
just
got
go
it, don't
for
worry.
Yeah. This week, Beaker has had quite enough torture at Bunsen's hands, so he's hiding out backstage, where he finds himself swept up in Beauregard's bumblings. Since the Muppet Show is extremely poorly planned, they haven't even started building the big Nile/Egypt set for the closing number, so Kermit sets Beau and Beaker to the task, which, honestly, they do a pretty good job of for having 15 minutes or so. Like, the set's done. The boat that the actors are sitting on sinks, unfortunately, but I don't even think that that's their fault. That's more of an animal's fault, I would say. Meanwhile, Kermit apparently thinks he's got a real big act on his hand with Bobby Benson's baby band, because they get 2 slots, which is basically unheard of in Muppet Show history. Standout moments here include Statler's grandson, who's a baby who sits in the box and wisecracks with the old men, a very normal, almost out of character normal Gonzo talking shit about everybody else with Elke in her dressing room, and an exceptionally boring and awful 2-part Pigs in Space that mostly is boring and awful because it promises at its outset to be a crossover of Marvel studio proportions. Elke Sommer is a model and actor. She was in stuff like the second Pink Panther movie and the Goofy version of Casino Royale. And she was also big in Playboy in the late 70s, too. Next up, Golden Age of Hollywood song and dance superstar Danny Kaye joins the Muppets on February 1st, 1979. Statler and Waldorf are missing, or they just aren't in the audience tonight, and apparently, though they don't really have any formal connection to the Muppet cast, this is cause enough for concern for everyone to go out looking for them, basically. In actuality, Statler and Waldorf are just sitting out back by the trash, talking shit about somebody they keep calling Something Kaye, who is an act on the show tonight that they hate even more than usual, enough to walk out on the whole show. Danny Kaye naturally walks out and overhears them and assumes they mean him. He gets sad, but he doesn't really get sad for too long. But he also doesn't tell anybody that he found the people that everyone's looking for, so maybe that's out of spite or something. Anyway, it turns out Statler and Waldorf meant Manny Kaye, who is a tuned clam player. All is forgiven, and the old men return to the theater for the closing bow. Standouts here include a number with dancing food jumping out of a lunchbox that for some reason hit me hard. I love that, dancing food. A UK spot that isn't on Disney Plus, but is quite good, featuring a song about jogging, who I think it was a Steve Whitmire, right? Is that who sang that?
Steve Whitmire performed that one, which is, again, nice to see him getting a solo number.
Kind of seems like he's the only actually good singer on the Muppet Show.
I mean,
because the song sounds like somebody really singing a song instead of like a goofy little guy singing a song, you know?
I guess, yeah, he's not really like doing a voice while he's singing it, so it doesn't sound too weird. But, I mean, Jerry Nelson can belt out a tune.
That's true. That's not fair, but there was just something about the way this one was sang where I was like, oh, this sounds good. And Clive Cahinga, the singing civil servant, whose musical number I would have preferred to see instead of Danny Kaye performing Inchworm backstage. Danny Kaye was, like I said, a big star in the 40s, and even before that, he was a big star on radio, and even before that, he was a big star in vaudeville, even though he must have been pretty small if he was a star on vaudeville, because he's not as old as, like, Edgar Bergen.
I like that you said small and not young.
Yeah.
He was shrunken back in the vaudeville days.
He never gets any older or younger. He just gets bigger. like a tree or something.
Just cut open Danny Kaye and count the rings to see how old he was in vaudeville days.
Yeah. Today, I feel like unless you're like a movie buff, maybe you don't really know what he was in aside from White Christmas.
I think that's the only thing people today really do associate him with.
Yeah. But like he mentions Hans Christian Andersen, which was a fake biopic of Hans Christian Andersen he was in, where he was
What do
just
you mean
playing
a fake biopic?
He was just playing a character named Hans Christian Andersen, but it wasn't actually based on his life. It was like a guy who told fairy tales, but it had nothing to do with the real Hans Christian Andersen. It was
All right.
Do you know what I mean? He was like
I do. I'm just more
version.
confused by the concept.
Yeah, fictionalized version, but so deeply fictionalized that it was like basically a different person.
He also was apparently quite small because his little bio here says that he left school at the age of 13 to work in comedy.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
At this point in the 70s, he was on TV on game shows a lot, just like every other like old-timey star was at the time. Finally, TV star and future Miss Scarlet in the movie Clue, Lesley Ann Warren stops by on February 8th, 1979. Most of this episode revolves around Gonzo trying to get his motorcycle jumping act right, which eventually he does, only after causing tons of mayhem and destruction backstage. But it also has an overarching plot of Kermit thinking that their guest isn't Lesley Ann Warren, but Lesley and Warren, who could be a knife-throwing act, or a couple of dancing cucumbers, or three guys named Les, Lee, and Warren, who just seem to be like three guys in polka dot shirts. Not really like an act or anything. That's all on that one.
It's more proof that Kermit is terrible at his job.
I think he wanted it to be the knife-throwing act, right?
I was kind of hoping he would like do his old thing of forcing the guest star to do what he wants them to do.
Yeah.
And I was hoping he was going to make Lesley Ann Warren still do a knife throwing act with Gonzo or something.
That would have been fun if she was the one throwing knives.
Yeah. He's like, here's some knives. Figure it out by the end of the show.
I would have liked that. Standouts here include Gonzo's whole cute motorcycle thing. His stunts are always fun, and they have really good puppetry and prop work. Lesley does one of the only dance numbers I've ever liked on The Muppet Show, where she reenacts Beauty and the Beast with Dog Lion. And Marvin Suggs is back, trying to take over a slot in the show, and horrifying Lesley with his mistreatment of the Muppaphones. Fortunately, Rolf shows up and takes command of the situation, gets that freak out of there, and he and Lesley sing a lovely song together. And finally, and most hauntingly, we watch the unaired pilot of the Orson Welles show. So, I didn't say who Lesley Ann Warren is, and I forgot to even write it down. She was in Mission Impossible before this. I think right now she's just kind of not doing much until she's Lady Scarlet on Clue. Or Miss Scarlet on Clue.
When her name popped up, I was like, I don't know who that is. Mm-hmm. And then her face popped up, and I was like, oh, Miss Scarlet.
Yeah.
And that's literally, unfortunately, all I know Lesley Ann Warren for is her work in Clue.
Yeah, me too. I think it was kind of interesting that she's so wholesome, and I've only seen her on Clue, where she's like the most evil of all the characters, basically. So it took me a while to recognize her. Finally, and most hauntingly, like I said already, we watched the unaired pilot of the Orson Welles show. So Orson Welles directed what many consider the greatest movie ever made with Citizen Kane. But by 1979, Orson Welles had turned from wonderkind to eccentric old loon about Hollywood, with a string of failed and expensive movie productions sapping most of his wealth. So in an attempt to write himself a meal ticket as a talk show host, Welles put together the Orson Welles show pilot. I think Matt watched more of it than I did and can probably speak to it more. But what I saw was the Muppets, seemingly held against their will in an inky black void of a studio, literally surrounded by stony-faced audience members, trying to riff off of a bloviating Orson. And Frank is trying his best as Fozzie, but he recognizes really the hopelessness of the situation that they're in and begins to crack. Jim basically goes into self-defense mode and barely says a single word. The whole thing is edited in quick cuts like the video from the movie The Ring, with monologues from Orson recorded afterwards and then inserted in to make him seem like he's very, very smart. And after a brief interview with Jim and Frank, in which Orson does a lion's share of the talking, the lights go down on the two men, and you get the impression that they were never seen again. And that's all I got. Nothing interesting happened during this period of time. Something I missed last week was that the YMCA dance premiered on television.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. Earth-shattering. The world has been forever changed.
And doesn't that seem weird that throughout the whole 70s they didn't have the YMCA dance? That seems like the prime time to have it.
It is, it's one of those things where to people like us who were born in the late 80s, the YMCA seems like it had just been around forever.
Yeah.
And like everyone's
Yeah.
just been doing this dance forever. And so it's kind of like when I go back and think about some Christmas songs that were like created in the 60s, like Rudolph and White Christmas and things like that. Like I guess that was like 50s. But thinking of these songs that like, oh, so, you know, people in the early 1900s just didn't have any concept of Rudolph. Whereas like the idea of that song and White Christmas just feel completely timeless.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm equating Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, White Christmas, and the YMCA.
No, that makes sense to me. We did a lot of Christmas mythos building in the 60s. That's for damn sure.
Along those lines, one of the things you mentioned earlier, Danny Kaye, and what he was doing around this era, I do remember him. He was in a Rankin and Bass Easter special.
Oh,
It was like Peter Cottontail or Here Comes Peter Cottontail, whatever it's called. And he plays like 5 different characters in that. He is sort of like the star of that special.
Oh, yeah, there's a puppet that looks just like him.
Yep. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about this Orson Welles special first, just because, again, it's sort of unstuck in time and logic in the way it really, the moment you turn it on, and if you ever want to watch this thing, 1, don't, and 2, it's on archive.org if you want to check out the whole thing. I guess if you want to see a weird time capsule of the late 70s and of Orson Welles and who he was in the late 70s, this'll do it.
Yeah.
Because it opens up and feels almost like a parody of a talk show that you would see in some horror movie or something, or in just some very meta satirical,
like Tim and Eric or something.
Yeah, but it's not. Like, this is supposed to be a very straightforward, Orson Welles is doing his best to try and make a legitimate talk show. And to do so, he seems to think that what makes a good talk show is it being completely scripted, filmed heavily edited, filmed on film for part of it. And as Sam alluded to, filming pickup lines later on that he could insert into interviews to make himself look smarter, but his interviewees look incredibly like out of touch and like they're not paying attention to whatever he's saying, because especially during the Jim and Frank part, there are things that like Jim will answer a question very like earnestly, and then Orson Welles will look at the camera and say like, "So you're a weirdo who didn't play with puppets when you were a kid. What's with that?" And he's
the most
just like
famous man in puppetry, and he'd never even seen a puppet, which is not what Jim said. He obviously seen a puppet.
Yeah,
before.
and it cuts back to Jim Henson, who obviously had not just heard the super weird thing
he's
that
just
Orson
like
Welles
smiling
said.
and blinking very blankly.
Yeah.
It's like, Jim, come on.
And it's just like Jim continues to be like, "Oh yeah, so in college or in high school I got into doing these things." And it's like, so you've never seen a puppet. And it's like, oh my
and
God.
yet you changed the world. And then Jim will be like, yeah, and then, you know, I went to Europe for a little while. Oh, Europe.
They have so many puppets in Europe.
Yeah.
Yes, he refers to Jim Henson as Rasputin as an Eagle Scout, which I'm guessing is just based on his beard alone.
It would be an honor to be referred to as such. I bet Jim and Frank never even saw this, probably, right?
Oh, I don't think anyone watched this outside of like us and the 5 people who made it.
It's so funny. It's so funny that Frank knows exactly what's going on, and he's just like, this sucks.
Yeah, there's a moment where Fozzie, like they have a script they're trying to stick through, and the script is terrible. Like, this is the worst writing you've ever heard for the Muppets. But there's touches in there where you're like, okay, I know that they had to be involved in some of this, but it feels like they wrote a script and then Orson Welles edited it because it's terrible. And there's moments
but Orson
where,
Welles doesn't know who Gags Beasley is. For
no,
sure.
but it comes up a lot.
Yeah.
There's a moment where Frank Oz as Fozzie completely like loses his spot, like forgot what was happening, and comments. He's like, "Oh, I thought we were just like having a conversation. Oh, you want to get back to the thing? All right, here we go."
Yeah. He's not sure who Orson's talking to.
No, and I think Frank is also, like you said, he can tell this is not working, and so he's like, okay, I can improv as Fozzie if that's what you want to do to like get us away from this shit that's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And Orson's like, stick to the script, Bear.
Yeah.
But yeah, when he introduces Frank Oz, he says he's a man who suits his name, and then talks about how we've all been to Oz, at least in one film and some books. And here's a man who lived there forever, Frank Oz.
We lived there until we all made the foolish decision to grow up. Frank never made that decision. And it's just Frank Oz, who's like the most grown up person in
I
the
feel like
Muppets.
I'm just waiting for Frank to go, what the fuck? So he's Rasputin and I've never grown up? Where the hell are we?
I wonder where they were. They were in his basement or something.
Yeah, that's Orson Welles' basement where he just like keeps all of those people and forces them to watch him put on shows that will never be seen.
Yes, I commented to Matt that it felt like he was like a Joker, like supervillain, because all the audience is there, and they'll be playing the laugh track, and they'll show the audience, and the audience is not laughing, which makes it extremely unsettling, like they are being held captive for this megalomaniac's whims.
Well, and it was apparently, there's a very lengthy behind-the-scenes description of this episode of television. I guess it didn't air, so I don't know if it can be counted as television. If you go to archive.org, there's a very lengthy description of the behind-the-scenes. But apparently, Orson Welles just completely took over this project, and he wrote all of the questions that the audience asks of Burt Reynolds at the beginning, which is wild if you watch it, because the questions are so weird. And in some of them, Orson Welles jumps in to answer them for Burt Reynolds. And so it's like he wrote this question for someone to ask Burt Reynolds so that he could jump in and answer his own question that he wrote.
I think that's amazing. I respect that.
He had somebody in one of the more awkward moments in the special. There's a man in the audience who asks Burt Reynolds, "What's the difference between a star and a superstar? And which one do you consider yourself?" Now, this man happens to be black. And Burt Reynolds says only a black man would ask that question.
What the fuck is that supposed to mean?
Great question. And everyone laughs as if that's a joke. And it's very strange. And it's just a very awkward, weird moment. And then Burt Reynolds starts to like answer the question and is like, well, I don't really know how you separate the two. And Orson Welles is like, I'll take this. So what a superstar is this. And everyone, Burt Reynolds is definitely a superstar. And everyone applauds and they move on. And he like doesn't even let Burt Reynolds really answer the question. There's also the fantastic point, which in the special they called out and say was just a weird coincidence. But Orson Welles and Burt Reynolds are wearing matching outfits.
Oh, and they didn't plan it.
They say they didn't. But somebody in the audience immediately asks, like, what's up with the red shirts? Because they both have, like, black suit jackets, and they have red button-up shirts with, like, big old collars that are, like, sticking out. And it looks perfectly like a normal Burt Reynolds outfit that you would see, like, them parody. If you're going to parody a Burt Reynolds outfit, this is it. But Orson Welles is wearing the exact same thing.
Well, weird. Like, he looked out the window and saw Burt Reynolds coming, and he was
Somebody
like,
give me a red shirt.
Red shirt. Then later on, he's like, time to change out of this stupid red shirt.
Yes. And at one point in the special, before he dives into his magic trick section of the show, he also says, we have arrived at the point in the program where I change into my Chinese costume.
Oh, no.
And you're just like, uh-oh, this is going to go very poorly. Basically he just wears like this like long black like outfit that is not as bad as what you imagine someone dressed as when they say, I'm going to change into my Chinese costume. But it's so he can do the bullet catch magic trick where he counts the like Russian roulette style bullets in the chamber and doesn't get shot in the face.
Great.
But yeah, it's super bizarre. The beginning of it, when he's introducing his guests for this episode, he refers to Miss Piggy as the nymphomaniac pig. One woman in the audience asks Burt Reynolds, again, a question written by Orson Welles, about, basically says, hey, do you remember that movie you were in, 100 Guns? And he says, yeah, of course I do. And she's like, if you were going to burn any of your own movies because they were so bad, would it be that one? And he said,
horrible.
Right? And he says, I'd have to get through a whole forest fire to get to that one. But like, it's interesting as a weird, highlight of what not to do with a talk show. But there are some questions that are sort of okay and actually like straight to the point that you don't really get on talk shows. Mm-hmm. Like they ask Burt Reynolds about sort of his womanizing ways and how they ask straight up, is that an image you have curated with a PR firm? Like, is this something that you and your manager sit and talk about? That like, how do I appear as a womanizer? And he gives an okay answer to that. But like a moment later, a fan asks him if for a kiss, and he says yes, and she just comes down to the stage and kisses him right on the lips.
And that assumedly was also a pre-scripted moment.
Yeah, which again, very strange. The one thing I will give Burt Reynolds credit for is at one point an audience member asks him like, "Why aren't there more female stars in the pictures?" And his answer is because they're not writing enough for women. And so he calls out that like, "Oh no, it's not that like women aren't good enough. It's that we are not writing parts for women." And I was like, "Oh,
That's
is
interesting.
a better answer than I thought he was going to give."
Yeah.
But yes, they have this weird inky void that Jim and Frank are stuck in when they're performing Kermit and Fozzie, where you can see half of their bodies, but their heads are completely in darkness. And so it's way creepier, I think, to have them slightly in frame.
Yeah. Just to see the arm going into Fozzie instead of the human next to Fozzie is much more unsettling.
Yeah, and the whole Muppet bit is like painfully slow and unfunny, and it's all pre-taped because there's like Sam Eagle's there, Gonzo is holding up cue cards
In his plumber's outfit from the Muppet movie.
Yeah, and it's all just it's like the worst scripted Muppets thing we've seen so far, I think.
And he does a magic trick while the Muppets are there, where he's cutting a lady up and talking about it in excruciating detail.
Yeah,
And then it'll cut to like the Muppets reacting, and it's basically like Fozzie saying some non sequitur because he didn't know he'd be commenting on a magic show, and Kermit just sitting perfectly still because his Jim is mad or something.
yeah. No, it seems like maybe they had more fun on the day, like actually recording it, because
Yeah.
Jim and Frank, when they're answering the questions, like there's a couple of questions that Frank is answering, and he seems like he's been waiting for somebody to ask him this question all his
Yeah.
life. Like he gets very excited to talk about the fact that like, yeah, we're normal humans. We do not treat these puppets like people. There is definitely a separation. I don't sit at dinner and start talking like Miss Piggy. We're just normal people who do puppet shows.
And Jim really gets into his history.
Yeah, that's the
Pretty
first we really heard
extensively.
about that whole, the trip to Europe that he took when he fell in love with puppets. He talks about how he broke up with a girl and was like dealing with that, and so he wanted to run away, and it was like, oh, that would be interesting and a great story to follow up on, Orson Welles. But instead, you're going to look at the camera for a recorded line that you recorded way afterwards that has very little to do with what Jim Henson just said.
I love when the pre-recorded things, the camera will cut to him and he have a big stogie hanging out of his mouth, and he'll pretend like he's been caught off guard by the camera cutting to him. He'll have to take the big cigar out of his mouth.
Yeah.
He's so funny. But I think it's a good point that while I was watching it, I was like, if Orson Welles had somebody there to like help him with this a little bit more, and had more cameras, because apparently he only had one camera, so they had to shoot like the same scene multiple times or something like that, he could have maybe done a good job with this if he had pre-prepared his he must have pre-prepared his questions, but like if he had been asking the questions and following up on them and having an actual conversation with these people, I think he could have been a good time. And they had said it in a normal place and not the horrifying void, and someone had said, please do not do your magic tricks, Orson. I think it would have been okay.
I know you didn't watch the end of this special, but there is like a solid 25-30 minutes of him just telling a story while he does a couple very bad magic tricks.
And that's the easiest thing to cut in the world. You could have a 1 hour long talk show where you talk to Burt Reynolds and the Muppets, and you're Orson Welles, and people would be like, terrific. You're an extremely strange man. I love to sit and watch you talk. But I don't want to sit and watch you talk about a magic trick for 25 minutes.
Well, this seems to be a thing Orson Welles was really into, because when I was looking up sort of what he was up to at this time, in 1985, which is obviously a little bit later, there was the Orson Welles Magic Show, which was a TV special.
Oh, no. Oh, I want to watch that.
Well, and
is it 8 hours long?
It's only 27 minutes long. So
oh, no. That's only time for one magic trick for him.
I think so. Yeah, it's a monologue and one magic trick. But weirdly enough, Angie Dickinson also appears in that, which she is the one who appears in this to help him with his magic tricks.
She loves to try to shoot him with a gun.
Yeah, and I don't know if they maybe reused clips from this for that, or if it was just like maybe they were friends and he was like, help me again, shoot me in the face again.
It's the only time I feel anything is when you're shooting at my face, Andy Dickinson. Huh.
So yeah, that is again not a super recommended watch because it is very strange and it is, I think, over like an hour and a half long if you watch the whole thing. And I watched almost all of it. I skipped through
because you were just fascinated.
Yeah, and I wanted to sort of get the vibe of like what Jim and Frank were coming into because I watched like some of the Muppet stuff first and was like, what is happening? So I went back to watch. I watched most of the Burt Reynolds stuff, and then I watched everything from the Muppets onward to see the end of it. But yeah, it's just the laugh track's all wrong. The editing's super weird. The cuts to a film camera from the video footage is super weird and clearly filmed at a different time. So yeah, it's very weird.
I think I'm gonna go watch him. I think I'm gonna go back and watch the whole thing because it feels like that I would guess that people like Tim and Eric, or like the people who made Space Ghost Coast to Coast, watched this and learned things from it, or like took things from it stylistically. So I think that I think it's interesting, definitely. And if you like weird humor like that, I feel like this has a lot of the early inspiration for that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it's again, if you have listened to us talk about it and you feel fairly warned about what you're getting into, I think you can go ahead and watch it. But watching it cold this week, not knowing what to expect, was quite the journey.
Is Miss Piggy actually in it?
I don't remember seeing her, but she is mentioned.
I skimmed through all the clips of it to see how many times the Muppets popped up, and I didn't see her.
Yeah, they are mostly in that chunk that
Right.
you watched, and then those reaction shots during the magic show. But
Right.
I don't remember Miss Piggy actually being there, but they definitely reference her as a nymphomaniac pig at the beginning. But now let's get into that January 25th episode of The Muppet Show, starring Elke/Elke Sommer. Muppet Wiki has something that I have to believe is incorrect. It says it was produced the same day as the Spike Milligan episode, or at least overlapped with the Spike Milligan episode in some way.
Long day.
Yeah. Which, interestingly, I don't know that... I don't believe they were produced the same day, but there are some things in this episode where I was like, what happened before the taping of this episode? Because there's a couple things that are just off about it. Overall, what'd you give this episode, Sam?
Oh yeah, I gave it a 1.5 star.
Whoa, that's quite low.
I didn't actively hate it. I think like you said, it feels off. I think that some of their voices sound really weird in this one is one thing.
Both Kermit and Gonzo sound off to me.
Yeah.
In this one. And I don't know if they were sick. I don't know. Like, at first I was like, oh, maybe this is the first episode they filmed after coming back from the Muppet movie.
Uh-huh.
That does not seem to be the case. They produced other ones that are more highly regarded before this episode. So I don't really know what happened. Maybe they all had, like, a drunken night out or something before this. But yeah, a couple of them definitely sound not normal.
Gonzo sounds and acts like current day Gonzo. He sounds old and he's not moving much really, and he's like not wacky or anything like that. He's having the most straight conversation he's ever had with anyone, and it's very odd.
Yeah, I don't again, we'll never know what actually happened or why, but there are definitely some noticeable offness to this one.
I wrote in my notes, all the Muppets seem sick.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe what
There's
it is.
a flu going around backstage.
Yeah. I gave it a little bit higher. I gave it a 3-star. I didn't actively dislike it, but it just sort of, we'll talk about this later on. All these episodes just sort of washed over me.
That's pretty much the same boat I was in.
Yeah. And I was honestly, when I was watching these, they were washing over me so neutrally that I was like, I am excited to talk to Sam about this because I hope he found some joy in some of these.
Oh, I loved the last episode.
Okay, well, then we can. I'm glad that we can talk about that one.
Okay,
but this one, again, starts off interestingly. Again, with Kermit and Gonzo being a little strange. This episode starts off with Kermit saying, "Hi ho, Kermit the Frog here."
I didn't notice that.
Which is typically reserved for Sesame Street.
The first strange thing, though, even before that, is when he goes yay at the beginning. He goes, yay. He does not go squeaky at all.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, this whole episode feels off. The fact that the babies are here doesn't help that at all, because let's get into that. The first act on this episode is Bobby Benson's Baby Band.
Yeah.
Where they perform Pennsylvania 6-5000.
This is like where the 1 star that this episode comes from, because I liked this actually. I think it's interesting. As I was watching, I was like, this is stupid. But then I started thinking more about the music of it and how kind of cool it is that they did this song with like baby instruments and like tiny little sounds. And
Right, you can hear the little toy piano and things.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's actually kind of a cool concept. Like, there's not much to the fact that it's the babies playing and like the puppetry doesn't matter as much, but this is one of the first time, like one of the only times I've noticed like the musicality of the show, except for when Rolf plays piano really well sometimes. And it's like, oh, that this is an interesting concept. And I love that he's got a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. I think he's very funny.
Yeah, I went back and forth between, okay, this is like a man who's recruiting babies to be part of his band, or this man has had like 6 children with different women, and he was like, I need to make some money to raise these kids.
Yeah.
Babies, we're forming a band.
I feel like he's a baby-specific talent agent. That's the vibe I got off of him, I think yours could work as well.
I think that if they ever address it, which I'm not even sure if they do, they talk about him being their manager, I believe. So I think we're supposed to understand that he just sort of recruited some babies for his band.
He's just so skeezy looking. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just standing there just kind of like, yeah, sing, make me some money.
Those are my babies.
And yeah, we have the extra baby in this episode, which is Statler's grandson.
A little too many babies, if you ask me. They could have saved that baby for a different episode. It's a little confusing. So
you said you liked thinking about the music and that they were like playing on toy instruments and stuff, but you also said this is where the 1 star started like to creep in. So like, how did you go from I like this to this sucks?
It would have been a half star without this act.
Oh, I thought that was bringing it down.
No.
This actually brought it up a little bit.
This is when I awarded it 1 star.
Interesting.
Right at the start. And the half star, I don't even remember what that came from.
Well, we do have Elke Sommer's first opening number. And at first I was like, uh-oh, this is going to be bad and awkward, because she comes out in a little Shirley Temple outfit looking like a little girl.
What we were scared of with the Marissa Berenson one.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And something that they've, sort of done before with other like women who are like, in their 30s or 40s, dressing them up like little girls to sing a little girl song.
Yeah.
And thankfully, Kermit comes in to save the day.
He's like, no. We're not doing this.
Yeah.
It is creepy when she's doing it, though.
Oh, for sure. And that's what I was like, this episode I was a little worried about, because, like you said, the babies open it up, and then we get her singing just a really sort of creepily sweet song as a Shirley Temple type. And I was like, this is going to be torture for the next 25 minutes. But thankfully, Kermit comes in, saves the day, tells her, hey, we're not really doing this. This is for adults. So, adult it up a little bit. And she does, because she turns
And not the kind of adults you're doing this for right now, Elke. Come on.
But she turns it into sort of a nightclub act, coming out in sort of a Marilyn Monroe type of performance. Still singing Animal Crackers, but in a sexy, sultry way.
Song. Stupid song.
It just reminds me of those old Shirley Temple commercials.
Yeah,
in the
me
90s.
too.
That was
where
just
she's
like
tap dancing in the exactly.
Yeah, it was just always like, buy this Columbia House collection of every Shirley Temple movie that's ever existed.
Man, I absorbed so much pop culture through those commercials, and then later you're listening to the radio and it's like, hey, I've heard that song on the Pure Love.
Is this love?
Exactly
that I'm
one.
feeling?
That's exactly the song I was thinking of.
That's the only part of that song I know, because it's only in those commercials.
Yeah.
And this is the same. Like, I've never seen a Shirley Temple movie in my life,
Me
but I know the animal crackers in my soup.
Yep.
Yeah, very weird time in pop culture where we just learn things from commercials of a bunch of other things.
Yeah, and then when you stay up too late, you see commercials for nasty anime movies, like Ninja Scroll. You know what I'm talking
we were watching
about?
different channels. I don't remember those commercials.
Cartoon Network had that kind of stuff.
After Space Ghost.
Yeah, exactly.
But also during this number, Kermit decides to change things up even more, because he doesn't like the nightclub act, which is kind of surprising. And
there's no Muppets in it.
That
for
is
one.
true. He finally acknowledges that maybe some musical acts without Muppets aren't what we should be doing on this show.
Yeah.
So they decide to Muppet it up a little bit and convert Elke Sommer into a Muppet through some blue screen technology.
Yes, her head is on top of a big man-esque puppet.
Yeah,
I'd
there's a
say.
couple sort of boss men-like
boss
puppets
men.
dancing next to her, and then she sort of has like that pipe cleaner-like body with her head
Uh-huh.
superimposed on top of it. I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool. I like this idea of.
I laughed when it started. I was like, funny. But I feel like it would have been funnier if animals had been there. You know?
Because animal
Did she sing
crackers.
about animal crackers?
Yeah, you're not wrong. If you're gonna take the Muppet, proven formula for musical numbers and take a song and remove the metaphor, like you just
Yeah.
have some animals showing up.
And she's talking about eating the different animals, and maybe they're like, hey, wait a minute. What are you talking
Hey,
about?
this isn't what I signed up for.
So, yeah, this is fine.
I liked it more once it sort of like got flipped on its head. Obviously, it
Yeah.
started out real creepy, weird tone,
Yeah.
but having Kermit sort of acknowledge what's going on with the show and changing things up on the fly, I like that sort of slight breaking of the show.
Uh-huh. I did too. It was funny also that Kermit was like, guest, you're not doing a good job.
Yeah, I think whenever he calls out the guest, either because he wants them to do something sort of against their will, or calling them out and be like, okay, yeah, what you brought to the table, we're not a big fan of, so let's change this a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And then we get part 1 of the 2-part Pigs in Space, which,
Mhm.
interestingly, is divided up by a UK spot, so conceivably in the US maybe would have just been a commercial, between those
break.
two.
Yeah.
But yes, you didn't seem to like this from your summary.
Well, I thought it was very boring. I didn't think there were any jokes in it really. And then I was really disappointed that when they get to Coosbane, they don't actually meet any Coosbanians that we've seen before.
Yes, I agree with all of that. I think I liked it slightly more than you did just because they did something slightly different with Pigs in Space.
That's true. They were so close though to like something interesting.
Yeah, and I think having them run into the Coosbanians we have seen in the past would have been way
Yeah.
more interesting than them not seeing anybody on Coosbane and just leaving.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, that's not a plot. That's like they
And
go
we
somewhere and they
know
don't
that
see
there's
anything.
things on Coosbane. We've seen them before.
Right, and that's like the fact that Kermit has been to Coosbane, and yet we're making such a big deal about these pigs going to Coosbane for the
Yeah.
first time is like, okay, whatever.
I want to see her karate chop a Myrtly Dop or whatever they're
Yeah.
called.
But it is divided for us in the version we watched by the UK spot, which is another Bobby Benson's Baby Band performance.
Yeah. Didn't need this one. This one could have been in a different episode.
Well, and it makes sense that it's a UK spot. Like,
Yeah.
Obviously, when you're just watching it on Disney Plus, like we did, it's very strange to have so many like sort of repeated things, like 2 pigs in space, 2 Bobby Benson's baby bands, and when the babies are so off-putting visually and also obnoxious, like audio-wise, it's rough to sit through a second performance where the joke is essentially the exact same thing. Of
This
hey,
one even has less of a joke because at least in the first one they go Pennsylvania 65000, and this one they don't do anything. They're just playing a song. Also, for me at least, the pigs in space was like so weird at the end. Like, stay tuned for part 2. That I was like, what the hell is this? And then when Bobby Benson started, I was like, what the hell is this? You don't want to double. What the hell is this?
Well, and also there have been many, many times with Pigs in Space where they sign off
Yeah.
promising a part 2 or a follow-up. Like, that's part of the joke, is that join us next week when we find out blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, but this one, you're actually telling the truth. We are actually getting a part 2.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't really understand, again, why this needed a part 2, why it needed to go on for so long. And then the end is just a joke about that they completely missed there are 2 living rocks
Talking rocks.
named
Okay.
Martha and George.
But they almost don't. They like don't tell a single joke in the entire thing.
No, it's a very straightforward
Yeah.
Pigs in Space, which is, the complete opposite of every other Pigs in Space we've ever seen.
Yeah. Don't waste my time, pigs in space.
But then we get, I think this is when we get to hear Gonzo in his strange, non-Gonzo-y voice, talking with Elke Sommer.
Yeah. And Persona, he's very self-aware. And he knows. He is talking about how the Muppets are all phonies, too. Very interesting.
Yeah, he says the only French that Miss Piggy knows comes off of a perfume bottle.
Which is not something he would say. That's so rude for Gonzo.
Yeah, it seems a little, like you said, a little maybe too self-aware for Gonzo. Because he's the one poking the holes in this whole concept of this show. He's like, yeah, we're all frauds. I don't know what we're doing here, man.
It was also done better in the episode with Cheryl Ladd, where it was much more subtle, where she speaks French to Piggy and Piggy doesn't know what she's saying. Like, that's a much funnier joke than belaboring it to the point that they do here.
Yes, I think it is a retread of something we've already talked about. And again, just kind of a weird episode.
She does get to karate
ways.
chop a human, which I always love. When
Yeah.
Miss Piggy karate chops a human being, terrific. And now this next part was where I gave it the half star, where it earned its next was Beaker and Beauregard building the set, because I thought it was so funny when Beauregard was trying to hammer the nail in, and Beaker knew what was going to happen, and he would move it out of the way at the last second so he wouldn't get his little hand hammered.
Well, I'm always a big fan of Muppet duos that we don't normally get to
Yeah.
see. So,
But these guys kind of become like a thing, don't they? Like, Beaker gets to be a stagehand, I think, a little bit more often after this. Because he definitely is in the Muppets 2011 movie. He's like one of the stagehands.
Yeah. I enjoy these other pairings. Like normally we do only get to see Beaker hanging out with Bunsen. And obviously he's a little gun shy when it comes to violence
Physical
happening.
pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Potential violence happening near him. Even though he is the one chasing everyone down with a chainsaw by the end of the episode.
He doesn't mean to. He's weak.
And then we get Louis Gazager is back with another Muppet Sports.
Yeah, he should go back in the trunk where they keep all the Muppets, in my opinion.
Well, I think it's also, like, if I remember correctly, Kermit introduces this, like, so excited.
Yeah, he waves his arms
Muppet
around.
Sports! It's like, whoa, okay, this better be amazing. And it's goldfish shooting.
Yeah,
Just a man who's going to shoot a goldfish.
and that's that.
Well, we do have the closing number.
Oh, no, I
to
mean, that's
discuss.
that for Muppet Sports.
Oh, I thought you were like, and that's it for this episode. That's
so
all we
much
need to talk
build-up
about.
for absolutely nothing.
Yes, I will say, as far as like the two Muppet Sports things we've seen so far between the wig races and this, the wig
Yeah.
races, much, much better than this thing.
Yeah.
But then we get to see the fruits of Beauregard and Beaker's labor.
But before that, let me
Oh.
just say, Kermit says the rudest thing in the fucking world.
What did he say?
He says Beaker's even dumber than you to Beauregard. Beaker is not dumb. There's no aspect of Beaker to me that seems dumb.
No. if
Especially
anything,
not dumber than the dumbest guy in the continental United States. At
Well, and
least.
even Beauregard knows that. He even knows. He's like,
I know.
no.
Kermit, trust me on this.
Dumber than me?
I thought that was so out of hand for Kermit to say, though.
Yeah, it's like, okay, just because this guy doesn't like hold regular conversations with you
Yeah,
doesn't mean he's dumb.
he's a fucking scientist, bro.
Yeah, he earned
He might be
that
a
lab
grad
coat.
student or something. Yeah, but he's a scientist, my friend. What are you? You didn't tell anybody to build the set until the show was 10 minutes in. Kermit, maybe you're dumber than Beauregard.
But thankfully, both Beaker and Beauregard prove Kermit wrong. They are able to make a
Yeah.
very impressive set on very short
Beautiful.
notice.
Yeah,
They even include
it's water.
a Sphinx Muppet, which was surprising because at first it just looks like part of the backdrop. Like there's
Yeah.
just like a Sphinx in the background, and then suddenly the face comes alive. But
They created life.
Oh, I don't want to think about that power being
Or
bestowed
they
upon
found
those
us,
two.
or they found a sphinx. They went out on the streets of New York and they were like, "We need a sphinx," and they found one somehow.
He's a friend of the bust of Beethoven.
Yeah,
But in this number, Elke is performing "Row, Row, Row" as Cleopatra, a song we've heard multiple times already in our adventures with the Muppets, because Wayne and Wanda performed this song in the Muppet Show in season 1 as their boat sank. So same joke. And then also there's a very different version of it that we heard Jimmy Dean and Rolf sing back in the day that was space themed, that they said they were going to go, go, go to like Mars and Venus.
Right. We saw that, right?
We saw that one. There is apparently an episode where Jimmy Dean and Rolf sing the normal "Row, Row, Row." That was not one of the ones we got to watch.
Ah, okay.
So this is a very popular song for the Muppets,
Sure.
which we get a couple times in this batch of episodes. Songs that we've heard before, and even a little acknowledgement that we have heard these songs before. But yeah, that's the Elke Sommer episode.
This final act washed over me definitely. I barely paid any attention to it.
Yeah, I think, again, this whole batch, but specifically this episode, just kind of happened. And it wasn't, like, very bad. There wasn't anything to really hate about it or dislike, but it just sort of happened. And again, it's one of those of, like, if you're going to show someone the Muppet Show, of like, hey, you should watch the Muppet Show. It's really good, actually. Yeah. And this is not the episode you should show them first.
It's actually a dangerous proposition to only show someone one episode of the Muppet Show. There are very few of them that are like, at least so far, that are good from top to bottom and don't have something that'll make people say, I don't know if this is for me, actually.
Next up on February 1st, 1979, we have the Danny Kaye episode of The Muppet Show. This episode is mostly on Disney+, but if you want to watch the UK spot, you'll have to find that somewhere else. It is on YouTube. You can just go watch it there. Or the entire episode with the UK spot intact is on archive.org.
I think the UK spot's worth tracking down. I think the jogging puppetry is fun, and I think the song is good. What'd you give this one, star-wise?
I also gave it 3 stars.
I give this one 2.5. I feel like I was maybe a little harsh in retrospect, but I'm gonna stick with it. Maybe I'll change my mind as we talk, though.
I think, again, episodes that wash over me, I think I just give 3 stars by default because I'm like, I didn't dislike it, but I also didn't feel like I wanted to rewatch it at all. So it just sticks right there in the middle.
Yeah, I think this was a case for me of there was a few different concepts here that were good, and they should have all been their own episodes. Like Statler and Waldorf missing, and Janice and Floyd in the box. Like having another character take place of Statler and Waldorf is a fun idea. It doesn't really get fleshed out or explored at all here. They're just kind of up there like twice. It doesn't feel like the focal point of the episode or anything like that. And then Danny Kaye and Piggy's relationship I thought was fun too, but doesn't get explored too much beyond kind of the middle of the episode.
Yeah, it's kind of curious that I think Danny Kaye has a couple standout moments in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think he was really good in it.
Yeah, but largely they don't really have a story for him throughout. He's just kind of there.
He just keeps going outside.
Right. They kind of have the thing of Statler and Waldorf don't like him, and so that like puts him a little on edge. But that doesn't really carry over.
Really, because he's only sad for like a second, and then he starts singing with Piggy, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot all about that other stuff."
Yeah, I think if that had like carried on and was upsetting him, and then it was sort of revealed that he was like, "Oh well, those 2 old men out in the alley keep throwing me off my game," and they're like, oh, 2 old men out in the alley.
Yeah, that would have been fun. Or yeah, if he was like trying really hard to do a good job on stage or something. Yeah.
One of the things we've talked about that sometimes can cause us to worry at the beginning of an episode is when the opening number does not involve the guest star and is also bad. And this is one of those cases.
This is not the place for an act like this. You hide this in the middle of a show.
Yeah, this is a group of whatnots singing Age of Aquarius, and their hair grows long.
Yeah, I would think that even by 1979, hippie jokes like this were probably pretty hacky.
Well, and I think the only joke is that this comes from the musical Hair.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess their hair grows because it's from Hair.
The show's called Hair. Oh, well, I didn't really get that, so...
I think even if you had, it's not much of a joke.
Yeah, and the song's from 1967, so this is old. This is past its due date. But
you mentioned that this construction worker sketch tickled your funny bone.
I don't know why. It just reminded me of, and this I've said a million times, something that they would have done on a talk show in the 60s. It's just like a little one-off sketch that has a full idea and it's fully fleshed out to the conclusion, and the little puppets are fun, and I could imagine like a live studio audience on the Mike Douglas show just losing their minds when that banana peel starts dancing, because that banana peel dancing is quite cool. I think it does a little tap dance and it sounds kind of like squishy. It just is like well done, I thought.
Yeah, no, I think the puppetry is interesting. The sketch itself didn't really win me over too much, but I agree that if this was on the Ed Sullivan Show back in the 60s, I think people would have gotten a kick out of it, especially because it ends like a lot of earlier Muppet things too, where the man gets eaten by his lunchbox.
That part was okay, but I liked that the carrot looked like it had a big sexy booty as well.
I liked seeing Rolf and Piggy together in this episode.
Yes, she calls him Rolfie.
Yeah, they have a nice little moment where they're rehearsing together.
Mhm.
Again, I like when we see the characters serving a purpose to the show and not just on stage. When it's like, oh yeah, Rolf is your local piano player. So if you're
Yeah.
going to be rehearsing your number for an upcoming thing, you go to Rolf.
You're gonna pull Rolf aside. Where are they?
That's a good question.
It's like it's the commissary set, I think.
Yeah,
Is
I believe it's the canteen, but we
Yeah.
see like nothing else that shows it's the canteen. So it's almost
Mhm.
treated as if it's like a little like dance studio, like a rehearsal space.
Right. They've decorated it with non-canteen items for sure.
Yeah. And it'd be very strange if Piggy and Rolf were just rehearsing in the middle of the canteen.
Mm-hmm.
Gladys would definitely be yelling them,
She
like,
went like
yelling at them to get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
But then we get a little bit of nastiness from Danny Kaye to Miss Piggy. Multiple times he comments on knowing her when she was thin.
Yeah.
And comments on how old she is. And later on even doubles down and says, well, I never knew you when you were thin. Because he's insinuating she's always been overweight. So yeah, there's like a little bit of nastiness tainting this performance for me.
I wish that they had taken their dance number after this a little bit farther with the antagonism, because I wasn't quite picking up what they were trying to do. Like, they're singing over each other, but it's a little half-hearted. And I feel like it should end with like them both punching each other or something like that.
Yeah, or like you said, trying to outdo each other, trying to, trying to work together but struggling because Piggy's mad at him, something like that. Let the antagonism like bowl over into the actual performance.
Yeah.
And then we have the UK spot, which again, not on Disney Plus, but you can go out and watch. It is a jogger singing a song called Jogging.
Very similar to the dog walking song in concept and execution.
Yes, it's in front of the same background set. He is still walking past random people, including Mildred, who we haven't really seen outside of the opening theme in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And we also see Brewster in that as well, who hasn't really been featured in a long time.
Dang, good riddance.
Yeah, I don't miss Brewster. But also one of the other people he passes by is Slim Wilson, who is one of the Lubbock Lou and the Jug Huggers band members. Yeah. And it made me realize we have not seen the Jug Huggers in quite a while.
It feels like it's been a while, yeah.
Yeah, and when Lubbock Lou first took over for the other Jug band, I feel like we saw them almost every episode for a while. Yeah. And then
season 2 was full of season 2, right? Had them all over the place.
Yeah. But now they're just sort of like mostly even it's just Slim showing up in the background of a lot of sketches.
Yeah, Lou, the girl Lou will show up too. She showed up in the dog walking one, walking her baby, remember?
That's right. So yeah, they're just like sort of background whatnot Muppets at this point, which is interesting. I'm pretty sure they show up only when, country music stars come on the show from time to time now.
Boys on?
Yeah.
Because the last time they really showed up was who was the guy who sang with the dog?
Roy Clark?
Yeah, Roy. They were in the Roy Clark one, I believe.
I wouldn't be surprised. Next week we'll be talking about the Roger Miller episode, and he's another countryman.
That seems fitting.
So I would not be surprised if they show up next week. But on that note, also, we have not seen a veterinarian's hospital in like the last 4 weeks of episodes.
They're not gone forever, are they?
No, they come back. But I think the last one we saw was Loretta Lynn when they were at the train station.
Huh.
Yeah, on Muppet Wiki, it says there's actually only 6 veterinarians' hospitals in the entirety of the 24 episodes of season 3. And we'll get more in the next 2 seasons. But
they had to recharge their puns. They had to go out and source some more. Next, we get some deep Swedish chef lore.
I mean, yes and no. Danny Kaye here plays the chef's uncle, who looks exactly like him and behaves exactly like him. I guess he fills in a little bit of lore about the Swedish chef, and this is where we get one of the 2 examples of the Swedish chef ever having a name given to him. This is one that feels a little less real. Like, this feels a little bit more like he has a very long Swedish name, and Danny Kaye just says, so we call him Tom. And Swedish chef sort of laughs that off, which makes me think that, like, okay, his name's clearly not Tom.
You think Jim was mad that he was saying that?
I thought that a little bit as well, because the Swedish chef is kind of like, what? Did you just give me a name? Don't do that. But I also have to assume that was written. I don't know, that they did a ton of improv. on the Muppet Show. But
Yeah,
yes,
that
there
makes
was a small moment there where Swedish Chef seems a little offended that his real name might have been given out.
He does not act like the Swedish Chef in that he does think that the food he's planning to cook is disgusting. And he is not comfortable with the death and dismemberment live on stage of a turkey.
Yeah, which Swedish Chef is totally ready to just like
He's
take
fine,
that turkey
yeah.
and chop it up live in front of everyone.
Yeah.
We've seen him try to kill many an animal, including Robin and a moose. So he is fully prepared to dissect animals in front of anyone who's willing to watch.
Yeah. Wow, when you put it that way, it really is like a different spin on what his act actually is.
Yeah,
For sickos only.
If they didn't close the curtain on a Swedish Chef bit, we would just see him brutally murder a chicken every single week. Hey, Sam, guess what?
What?
Beauregard's not very smart.
There's too many Beauregards in this batch of episodes. This one's so pointless, too.
He murders again. He is here to let the flying zucchini brothers fall rather than fly. They are supposed to be jumping down into a pool of water, and he moves the bucket that they're supposed to be landing in, and they just fall
And
to
they
their deaths.
die. And
Yeah.
they die. And ignorance of the law is not an excuse for breaking the law, so he will be prosecuted to the fullest extent.
You know what this
possible
is?
in court. Yeah.
This is the moment where Beauregard just created Robin from
Why?
Batman.
Not Robin, not nephew Robin.
I mean, Nephew Robin could become Robin. Because this is a Flying Grayson's moment where
Yes.
Beauregard just let these acrobats die, fall to their death.
So the Muppet version of Robin is named Dick Zucchini.
That's the worst porn name I've ever heard. If Link Hogthrob is the best, Dick Zucchini is definitely the worst.
Oh man.
But yes, that is my my new canon, is that there's a little boy zucchini brother up at the top of that ladder who just watches his family fall to their death,
Oh
and
no.
will
You're
get his
right.
revenge on Beauregard. And then we cut to Clive Coenga, the singing civil servant, who is going to perform the municipal vermin abatement code as set to Mozart.
Oh man, I loved this.
I like this a lot too. This is
He is
something
this-
where I was like, oh, this is pure chaos, where the Muppets think this is something good and interesting. Nobody else likes it, but Kermit is going to put it on stage because he believes in this.
And the song is fun too when you start singing it.
Yeah.
But I guess we don't get to see nice things because we have to go backstage.
Yeah, we get Danny Kaye doing his best Rich Little impression by doing a bad Kermit the Frog impression.
Seemed so rude that he kept like mimicking the voices of the Muppets. I hate when people do that on the Muppet Show.
Well, especially when it seems like even Kermit was offended. Like there's something he
Yeah.
says to Danny Kaye that Danny Kaye sort of reiterates back to him.
Are you
And
making
Kermit's
fun
like,
of
are
the
you
way I
making...
talk?
Yeah, what the hell, dude? That's not cool. And then, of course, he doubles down and continues to do an impression of him that
Yeah.
if Kermit wasn't there and didn't like say, "Are you making fun of me?" I would not have known that Danny Kaye was trying to do a Kermit
No.
the Frog impression because
There's
it's
no
so bad.
Kermitness. He just talks like a teeny bit higher.
But as they prepare to start singing Inchworm, various Muppets start to sort of like wander into frame to see like, oh,
Mhm.
what's going on over here? And my favorite one is Droop. Because Droop
Mhm.
shows up like 5 seconds before everybody else starts to wander in. And so at first, Kermit and Danny Kaye are just like sort of having a conversation. And then Droop just is sort of like, and I'm
Whoa.
also here.
Remember me?
Hi. And I was like, first thought it was like some sort of weird mistake or something, sort of like when Crazy Harry walked by in that one episode.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, Droop, are you supposed to be here right now? And I think he is, but he's just like, 5 seconds too early because eventually
Droop's the only
everyone else...
Muppet who's real. He's actually walking around back there.
Oh, sorry. There's cameras. We're making a show? Oh, I didn't realize. Oh, I'm in the show. This is me. Oh, okay, cool. This is great.
But this ain't one of my favorite songs. That's for damn sure.
Well, we've also, again, seen it before. Even
Yeah.
Danny Kaye says he wants to sing Inchworm, and Kermit's like, oh, we know that one.
To be fair to Danny Kaye, this is like a signature song of his from Hans Christian Andersen.
So he was probably mad when Charles Aznavour did it, because he's like, come
Yeah.
on, man, that's mine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a very similar performance to the Charles Aznavour one. And I remember us not really loving that one, because it's him just sort of sitting by a tree as a worm
Yeah.
crawls up to him.
That one was a
Um,
little more interesting than this one, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I typically like the backstage performances where like all the Muppets are coming together to sing together. But you're right. This one is not as well done. I think it's a
Yeah.
sweet closing number, but it doesn't make up for like the lackluster episode.
And I thought it was kind of interesting that they like acknowledge that they're backstage and people can't see them.
Mhm.
Made me think that there is like the audience watching the Muppet Show and then the audience watching the TV version of the Muppet Show.
Yeah.
But who's laughing at the laugh track and the backstage stuff?
Yeah.
Who knows? But
Well, and they've also like done the exact opposite before, where they've
Right.
talked like to the audience from the dressing room.
yeah.
So the fact that nothing is going to be on stage while they're performing backstage shouldn't really be a problem. There's plenty of times.
Maybe they always put Clive on when they're backstage doing stuff.
Lucky audience. I want to hear Clive.
yeah.
I think the last, sort of interesting thing about this episode is that it wraps up again with Statler and Waldorf finally revealing that they actually thought Danny Kaye was Manny Kaye, who they do not enjoy. But they actually love Danny Kaye, so which lifts his spirits again. And they come in to join the fray for the sign-off of the episode, where Kermit reveals that they apparently think of Statler and Waldorf as family.
They're part of the family. I mean, they are technically Muppets, so I suppose that's true.
Yeah.
All the Muppets got to stick together.
But at the end, the very, very last joke in this episode is Statler and Waldorf, again, sitting back out in the alleyway, talking about how great they had it because they didn't have to watch this episode. But
yeah.
apparently, the UK version of this episode premiered on Christmas Day and featured an alternate ending during the closing theme. So instead of Statler and Waldorf in the alley, it cuts back to the theater box, and they're there with a bunch of other Muppets singing "We Wish You a Merry Christmas."
It
And
looks cute, too. Can you watch it anywhere?
I couldn't find it. I'm so
Oh,
upset.
oh.
I really wanted to watch this. The one good thing is, like, even though I couldn't find it, it did take me down a rabbit hole of going back and watching old Jimmy Dean and Rolf Christmas things, because suddenly
Ugh.
I was like in the Christmas mood again, and so I went and watched the
Yeah.
one where he gives him the leash and collar,
Mhm.
so that they will always stay close together.
Very sweet.
It's so good.
I don't know why the Muppets are so good at Christmas, and I don't know why, but it's such a great combo.
But yeah, I'd rather go watch a bunch of Jimmy Dean and Rolf stuff than watch the Danny Kaye episode again.
Jimmy Dean and Rolf stuff is the thing I've gone back and watched the most, for sure.
It's
I just will throw those on
yeah.
every now and then.
It's endlessly charming. And I think somebody recently online I saw point out that nothing is better than Muppet dogs and their best friend humans.
No.
Like you get
It's
Sprocket and
perfect.
Doc, and you get the new Sprocket and Doc, you get Jimmy Dean, you get the guy from Tinker D.
Yeah, even the guy from Tinker D, who was like not great, is still pretty cute with Rufus.
Mm-hmm. So many good Muppet dogs. Like even watching the new Fraggle Rock Back to the Rock series, one of the best parts of all those episodes is when you just have Doc and Sprocket just hanging out.
It's probably so fun to hang out with a Muppet dog too, and bite their noses.
One day, Sam, one day, we'll get you in front of Ralph and you can chomp him.
Get over here, you. Chase him around like Pac-Man.
Well, he can only run so fast. He's got a human attached to him, so you could probably take him.
Can run as fast as the guy whose arms up him.
Next, on February 8th, 1979, we have the Lesley and Warren episode of The Muppet Show. It starts off kind of weird with Lunch Encounter Monster slapping Lesley and Warren on the ass, I believe.
They got to get this dude out of the dressing room. He's
Yeah.
always causing big problems.
He's trying on people's clothes. He's slapping them on the ass.
yeah.
We should not be around there.
Dope. I didn't get slapping on the ass, but I still got slapping hard enough to make an audible whacking sound.
And that's what, I guess it's not extremely clear that that's exactly what's happening, but
yeah.
it's
kind
sort of
like,
implied.
hey, chum, hey, buddy. But it seems like he's hitting her way too hard wherever he's hitting her.
Yeah, and she seems a little shocked by this
His
anyways, so.
behavior. Yeah. Oh, what'd you give this one?
Oh, I think I gave this one 3 stars as well. Yeah.
I gave it 4.
Oh, okay. You liked this one.
I found this one very charming. I liked her a lot. She seemed to fit in extremely well with the Muppets, I thought.
There are moments with her where I'm like, yes, good, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of things that just sort of fell flat for me in this episode that sort of pulled it down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
As we alluded to earlier, this episode opens up with Kermit being extremely bad at his job, not knowing who he booked on the show.
And not really caring that much either once he finds out.
No, he's like, as long as somebody's here, I guess we have a guest star. That's all we need. And they really beat the dead horse of this Lesley and Warren joke.
I thought it was kind of funny.
I think the fact that they do it multiple times in very
Like 4
similar
times.
ways, I was just
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, okay. I think the cucumbers put it over the top for me.
I have pictured like the writers being like, her name sounds like Lesley and Warren. That's pretty funny, right? And then somebody's like, her name sounds like Lesley and Warren.
Wait, can we get 4 names out of this? Or is there a war and a wren? Is there something else we can do? How many people can we get on stage?
Yeah. Is and a name? No, it's not, unfortunately.
They could have had a woman named Anne.
Yeah, but there's
Could've
no
been-
and. There's no connector there then.
That's true. We do not get to see Lesley and Warren doing their knife throwing act. We just get
Too bad.
Lesley and Warren, who Kermit is very excited to see once he realizes that she's there.
He announced her at the top of the show. I guess he could have been saying Lesley and Warren at the top of the show, I suppose, when he's in
Yeah.
the O.
Maybe they're doing this like Orson Welles and he films that later. And then Gonzo is going to attempt his feat of lunatic daring, which is ramping a motorcycle off of the stage and landing safely between the 2 elderly gentlemen in the box.
I love how much flagrant disregard Statler and Waldorf have for their own safety even. They don't really care that much. Even when he does it, they're still kind of just like, well, good job, I guess.
There's also a lot of flagrant disregard for safety from Gonzo in this one. Multiple
Yeah.
times he nearly kills other people.
You shouldn't have a motorcycle zipping around inside of any building, really.
No.
Maybe like a big stadium or a civic center of some sort.
Yeah, like some motocross show. We can include Gonzo in that, but maybe not in a small little theater.
Yeah, that's prone to catch on fire as well.
But the at first, the motorcycle show does not go to plan. He does not even make it off the ramp. And so he goes backstage. He's trying to fix his motorcycle, and in the process, it takes off with him attached,
Zips
shoots
away.
down the stairway and out into the alley. And then we get Lesley and Warren showing up. But not the knife-throwing Lesley and Warren. The
dancing
cucumbers.
Cucumbers.
This is the one where I was like, wait, so we're just doing the Lesley and Warren bit again?
Hell, they should have done it way more times.
I think
And also,
yeah.
it is funny that the name is the same. They don't change it up for that one. It's just another Lesley and Warren.
Right, and I think that's where, for me, like, if this had been the Lesley and Warren thing that they do
Yeah.
at the end, but earlier, I'd be like, oh, okay, I get it's a different kind of joke on the same
Yeah.
joke. But this is just the same joke, but they forgot the knife people and made them
Yeah.
cucumbers.
It would have been funny if the knife throwers had shown up and they had to figure out what to do from there or something.
Or make the cucumbers the knife throwers.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how they make the salad. They chop each other up accidentally.
There's no rule that says a cucumber can't be a knife thrower.
You know, I think I read that somewhere. I think that is a law.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It's like Air
They
Bud.
must have changed it
Yeah.
recently.
They had to. There was too many cucumbers throwing knives, and they were like, we have to put something in the books about this.
Yeah. Who says Congress doesn't get anything done, huh?
And then I think this is one of those moments where we're going to disagree, Sam.
Oh, you didn't like this dance number?
I did not like this dance number.
I thought it was really cute. I have no other defense of it besides that.
Yeah.
I thought it was danced well. I thought Dogline. I thought it was cool that his eyes were moving while he was dancing.
he does get to blink now, which is
Yeah.
a new feature of, I guess, Doglion.
You can call him whatever you want to, man.
I'm going to call him Doglion until I am proven wrong. Which, again, anytime he shows up in an episode and I see a few screen grabs where he's going to be like featured in an episode, I'm like, oh no,
Yeah.
this is going to be it. They're going to
gonna
name
go
him.
backstage, and he's gonna say, "Good job, Doglion," or
Yeah.
"Good job, Doglion," but it's never gonna happen.
Yeah. And I am 99% sure I am wrong about the pronunciation of his name because everyone else in the world calls him Doglion.
Well,
But I
respect
really
that
want it to be
there's that
Doglion.
1% that's making you still not admit it.
I will find someday another person who.
I will become the CEO of Disney, and I will change his name.
Yeah, that's my. If I ever get to write a Muppet thing, I will work Doglion into it, and I will have someone call him Doglion, and he'll be like, "Wait, what?"
And all our fans
Doglion?
in the audience will be like, "Yeah, you got him, Matt. You
Yeah.
got him."
My name's not Doglion. It's Doglion, of course.
I think what I really liked about this one is sometimes when they do the dance numbers, they're very straight laced. But this one is straight laced up until the end when she kisses him and turns into a Doglion herself. And then they do the little like, na 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 na, bah. And I thought that was pretty funny. That's a good way to end a Muppet thing.
Yeah, it's a very Muppety twist to have her turn into the Beast.
Yeah.
And
It's a Shrek
It
situation.
is just a Shrek. I think they probably inspired Shrek. If the Orson Welles show inspired Space Ghost, this Lesley Ann Warren episode of the Muppet
The
Show
Muppet Show is
inspired
the font
Shrek.
from which all popular culture has flowed, of course.
Yeah, because it is
Like Shakespeare.
just Shrek. But we get to see Doglion die. Like he full on
He just
collapses
stops.
and
He just
dies.
stops going. Yeah.
But thankfully the kiss brings them. But But thankfully, the kiss brings him back to life and also turns Lesley Ann Warren into a Doglion of her own.
Yeah, and she seems fine with it.
Which is immediately followed by Statler and Waldorf in the box, where Waldorf asks Statler how they did that, and he turns himself into a Doglion. After that, we see some more disregard for safety as Gonzo jumps his motorcycle
bike right into Kermit and Fozzie, killing both of them.
Smashes them beneath his motorcycle.
What have I done?
Yeah, the show is over now, Gonzo. You are in charge because you just murdered like the top 2 stars.
Yeah.
But it's not over, and it's time for another Pigs in Space.
I don't even remember this one.
This one's bad. It's
this one's stupid.
They're going to be traveling through the Dumbo rays, which are something that affects people with low intelligence.
It would have been funny if it made them all dumb, but I guess we don't get that.
No, it just makes people zone out, I guess, for a bit. And so Link Hogthrob, being the least intelligent of the group, apparently, not apparently, obviously, is the only one affected, and it also makes him tap dance. That's it.
Oh, yeah. Well, whatever. Again, don't waste my time, Pigs in Space.
Yeah. They should have swapped it for the next thing, which is the UK spot in this episode.
Yeah, which was really good, I thought.
Yeah, we get Dr. Teeth and Sam the Eagle hanging out. We get to see Dr. Teeth's weird, creepy live hands, his human hands in gloves, playing Mac the Knife. And when Sam the Eagle calls him out on this song, which he says is very offensive and vulgar and violent, Dr. Teeth has to cover his ass and try to explain, actually, this song is not at all violent. I'll explain that it's actually about a man who's going to buy some couch pillows for his wife.
It's such a great use of Sam to actually come out and be the censor, which is something I wish we would see a little bit more, and something if you were in America, you barely ever saw at all.
Yeah, they have hidden Sam in a number of UK spots.
But yeah, it's a great pair, because probably the person Sam the Eagle would hate the most of anyone on planet Earth. Yeah,
I think Dr. Teeth might invite Sam out for like drinks or something on a Friday night, and Sam's never going to say yes.
Yeah. Well, because he knows they're going to do coke. He can't see that. He'll have to call the police.
Yeah, you say drinks. I know what happened last time.
His head's also very blue again.
Yeah, this is it's a weirdly lit like sort of number as well, and Sam does look like he's an upgraded version of his puppet.
Yeah. Then it's followed by another just fantastic moment, I think.
Yeah,
I actually would say that Marvin Suggs is one of my favorite Muppets now.
I put in my notes that Marvin is starting to grow on me.
He's so cool. He's everything New Zealand isn't.
Yeah, I think what happened is early on, and we'll talk more about Marvin Suggs because he's our Muppet of the Week. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that they knew Marvin Suggs was obnoxious.
Was evil. Yeah.
I thought they were like, oh, cool, we've got this other musical act. And then now they're really leaning into him being unhinged. And I think Muppet Wiki even describes him as a deranged whatnot Muppet. And this is an amazing setup for him because we get introduced to this segment saying that it's going to be a musical number with Lesley Ann Warren and Rolf. And you're like, oh, sweet, this will be fun. And the curtain rises and you see Marvin Suggs and his Muppaphones.
And you know something's wrong immediately.
And he comes out and he basically tells Lesley Ann Warren, don't you worry about Rolf. He's fine.
What did you do to him?
Oh, yeah. Immediately, I'm like, he has Rolf like tied up somewhere. It does turn out he locked Rolf in his dressing room so that he could do this musical number.
Yeah, when you're dealing with someone like Marvin, that you're getting off easy if he's just locking you in your dressing room.
Oh, yes, because, Lesley Ann Warren rightfully calls out Marvin on his behavior of beating live creatures to make music. And he essentially says, well, have you ever tried making music with dead creatures? Because it doesn't work.
Very good.
Very clearly painting the picture that Marvin Suggs has tried to beat dead animals and get music out of them, and it just didn't work. But this sketch not only made Marvin Suggs sort of grow on me a little bit and like him a little bit more, but then we actually get the Rolf number, which is amazing because Rolf comes out and is like, hey, you had me locked up. What the hell?
Get the fuck out of here. And I love that he's like, hit the lights. Get this stage out of here. He's like taking charge so much more than I feel like anyone else ever has on the Muppet Show. And everyone's like, of course, Rolf, we'll do it right away.
I put the same thing in my notes. I was like, Rolf gets respected at this show. People know
everyone
him.
Hates Kermit and everyone loves Rolf.
Yeah. And see, if Rolf would have helped out when the pigs took over the show, he could have just like
Yeah.
had a calm conversation with them, and they'd been like, "Okay, Rolf, we're sorry."
Yeah, he would have got them an act too. It would have been like, look, they just want to be on the show more often. Come on.
Yeah, and Ralph even like at one point he gets them to change the lights, change the set, bring the piano out, and then he even asks for more stars in the background, like
Yeah.
on the lighting. And I'm like, man, yeah, Ralph's getting shit done.
And then Leslie's like stroking his head and stuff. Like, there's just something about Rolf. I feel like when people see him, they're just like, I love you. I would die for you, Rolf.
Well, and this is the thing that I put in my notes. Almost made it a 4-star episode for me because this number is so good. The lead into it is so well done. I think anytime Rolf shows up, he elevates a show. But I couldn't quite do it because of what comes later in the episode.
Yeah, it's rough. Gonzo crashes into the box. That is that.
He succeeds.
Statler and Waldorf kind of seem proud of him too, I think.
I don't think they believed he could do it.
Yeah.
That's why they weren't scared earlier. They're like, oh, yeah, this dude always fails. What's the chances he actually hits us?
Yeah, and it was a good tying in of them. I'm over being sick of them. Season 2 was just a tough one for him because of Fozzie's decreased presence, but it doesn't even cut to them to make little jokes as much as it used to, or it doesn't in as obtrusive a way.
Yeah, I think we talk often about like season 1 being a little rough around the edges. They didn't really know what they were doing yet. But I think season 2 has a lot of roughness to it as well because we get overusing of Statler and Waldorf. We get reused Gonzo bits constantly throughout. And there's just a lot of stuff in season 2 that like doesn't land, but they like really, really keep going with. Whereas in season 3, they use those things a little bit more infrequently. I don't think we've seen a single reused Gonzo horn bit at the beginning.
No.
So yeah, I think they're, again, as any show should, they're becoming more and more polished as it goes along.
Yeah.
And then we get Lesley Ann Warren trying to seduce Link Hogthrob against his will at a disco.
Why against his will? That's what I didn't understand. Why is he not into this? What's going on here?
My read on this is another one of those sort of pulling back the facade of the character where Link Hogthrob likes people to think that he is a ladies' man, that he is out there, he is very impressive and handsome and all
He's
this
got his
stuff.
big open disco shirt and his kerchief. He doesn't even dance.
But when somebody is actually coming onto him and is slightly more aggressive than he expects, he shuts down and does not know how to handle it.
Okay.
That's my read on it, is that like he was not prepared for a woman to be the pursuer.
I almost thought he was like, ew, gross.
Oh, yeah, I could see a little bit of that because he definitely tries to
He
run
just
away from her
doesn't
multiple
want
times.
to be there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit weird and like very, very aggressive on Lesley Ann Warren's part. At one
Which
point,
I thought was fun. But
yeah.
but,
At one
yeah.
point, she even like rips off her shirt to reveal her revealing dress underneath.
Yeah.
And Link turns to the camera and is like, "Whoa, everyone seeing this?"
Awooga. I thought she was fine in it. I just didn't understand what the body language we were supposed to be getting from Link was.
Well, and especially because it is so like much the opposite of what we have seen from his character before,
Yeah.
that I think she would have to almost be playing it up even more, like ramping up her aggressiveness like another 10, 20% for us to go, okay, I see why he's trying
He's
to
got
run
to
away.
get out of there. He'll be
Yeah.
hurt.
Yes, she is going to like misery him or something.
Yeah. But it would have been cute to see him do a little disco dance.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, that's sort of like, I was like, maybe I'll give this one 4 stars. Nope, never mind, 3.
I was just kind of hoping for him to be like the male Miss Piggy in this situation.
Yeah.
And have like a really hammy, fun duet.
Yeah,
But, well, there you go.
you did it, Sam. Good job. Then the episode ends with us getting to meet Lesley and Warren, who again are just
3 guys in polka dot shirts.
Yep, that's what
Don't
they
do
got.
anything.
That's all they got going on for them.
Yeah, I don't know why I like this one so much. I think she had a lot to do with it because she did seem like, I think I talked last week about people who watch the Muppet Show and people who don't watch the Muppet Show. I feel like she'd be somebody who watches the Muppet Show and she'd be a little bit pumped to be there.
And I do enjoy her calling out Marvin Suggs.
Yeah.
It seems sort of like the moments we had with Jean Stapleton when she was on the show of like breaking the fourth wall a little bit of like, what is going on here? This is like, but not in that like Leo Sayer kind of way of like, this place is crazy.
Yeah. She just sees cruelty and calls it out.
Yeah, because like, she seems very sincere in that moment too when she's talking to Marvin Suggs, where she's like, "You can't do this. This should be a crime. Someone should arrest you." And speaking of that criminal, it is time for our Muppet of the Week.
There's not going to be anything about this dude, though, is there? He's kept his identity hidden on purpose.
Yes, our Muppet of the Week is Mr. Marvin Suggs. As I alluded to earlier, Muppet Wiki refers to him as the demented whatnot musician, who appears many, many times in the Muppet Show with his Muppaphones and with, some singing fruit, as we saw. And I think in the only time we really liked him before now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Sam has always liked him a little bit more than I have.
Yeah. He in this first appearance was more straightforward. Since then, they have crazied him up quite a bit.
Yeah, he is starting to slowly lose his mind,
Yeah.
which is making me enjoy him more and more. There was a CD that came out in the 90s, I believe, called Muppets Music Mayhem and More. And if you read through the booklet, which you can do on Muppet Wiki, there's some interesting little tidbits and interviews in there. And in there, Frank Oz is commenting on Marvin Suggs and says, "I don't recall where Marvin Suggs came from, probably from one of the writers' meetings. But the accent came from my French friend, Philippe Gentry. I just exaggerated it and made it really annoying. I've always felt Marvin lived in a scuzzy trailer park with his put-upon wife, and he kept the Muppaphones in a cage and would beat them regularly."
That tracks.
Oh,
Except
yeah.
the Muppaphones have a home life, it seems like, because they have cars.
Well, and it's always funny that we get these Frank Oz summaries of who he believes his characters are, and sometimes they're so far out that you're like, we see none of that. What you're saying right now is not visible on screen ever. But this one 100% tracks. So the original design of Marvin Suggs was sort of disputed for a little while. Raleigh Crewson is credited as designing the character, but apparently there was some research done by the Center for Puppetry Arts in their preparation to make their big permanent Jim Henson exhibit they have there now. And they apparently found out that while Raleigh Crewson made the Muppaphone designs, Jim Henson actually designed the original Marvin Suggs character.
Oh.
There's also some interesting information if you go on Muppet Wiki and scroll through there. They talk about sort of the things that happened in pop culture before Marvin Suggs that are sort of Marvin Suggs-esque, including a bit on Monty Python where a man would come out and beat some rats or mice to play music. There's also, they go back to 1928 and say that sort of the first version of this kind of thing is Mickey Mouse yanking pig's tails to play music.
Oh, he does mean things to all kinds of animals to play music in Steamboat Willie.
Yeah, and I think that's
makes
what
sense.
they're sort of. It almost feels like it's like from a Tough Pigs article or something. It's like this is more exploration into a character's history than we normally ever get. Of like, okay, but where in pop culture, like what could have inspired this character? Which I like. I like the ideas of like, oh yeah, there were some things similar to Marvin Suggs before a Marvin Suggs.
Yeah.
With a Monty Python, I think probably being a pretty heavy inspiration on the Muppet Show.
Yeah.
But we will not see Marvin Suggs for a little while. He
Yeah,
pops
I was
up
just
once
looking at
more in
that.
season 4 and 2 times in season 5. But after that, we kind of can't get rid of this guy. He shows up in the Muppet movie, Muppets Take Manhattan. He's in Muppet Family Christmas, Jim Henson Hour, Muppets Tonight, Muppets from Space. And up through all of that, through Muppets from Space, he is performed by Mr. Frank Oz, which should be obvious if you listen to him because he sounds like a French Grover.
Yeah, it's such a good Frank Oz voice, and it is very Grovery now that you mention it. Who is one of my favorite Frank Oz guys?
Oh yeah, we are still preparing for our Sesame Street episode that'll be coming out in a little while, and rewatching some of those very early Grover Waiter sketches where he's truly losing his mind. Is so good that it almost feels like it shouldn't be on Sesame Street because I'm just like, this is not for kids. This is very clearly just a waiter losing his mind. Like a lot of other Frank Oz roles, Eric Jacobson has picked up the mantle of Marvin Suggs ever since 2011 because we did not see Marvin Suggs between Muppets from Space and the Muppets, the 2011 Jason Segel movie. I think he was in a music video that they put out with OK Go performing the Muppet Show theme song, but I don't think he says anything in that, and I'm not entirely sure who performed him in that. But for sure, since the Muppets 2011, Eric Jacobson has been performing Marvin Suggs, which again makes sense when he is the man who has been performing Grover as well. But yeah, Marvin Suggs has become one of those sort of like representatives of the Muppet Show. Like whenever they're alluding to the Muppet Show, whether they're doing the Muppets Take the Bull or Take the O2 or on the Muppets ABC series from 2015, the very last episode of that series, spoiler alert, I guess, they decide that really what's going to help them out and save their late night talk show is to make it more like the Muppet Show. And so they bring in Mana, they bring in Marvin Suggs, they try to make it more Muppet Showy, which was a great idea, and I would have loved to seen explored in the season 2. But
They promptly were canceled. They were wrong.
I think they were right, but maybe just a little too late.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was fully prepared to come into this episode and rate Marvin Suggs like 5 out of 60 because I hate him so much. But then, after seeing him become truly unhinged and reading about sort of his conception and I don't know, he's definitely growing on me.
He is a damn comeback kid. I came into it exactly the same way. Just seeing him on that little bit, mostly of the Muppet movie, where he is being annoying and New Zealand is standing there being annoying as well, made me be like, oh, they are the same. They are not the same. There's no... New Zealand isn't a patch on Marvin Suggs' ass, basically.
Yeah, I think I was lumping him in with the Crazy Harrys and New Zealands of the world, where I'm just like, you are a one-joke waste of space.
Yeah, which he is kind of one joke, but that one joke is very funny.
Yes, and the more that we, the fact that we find out more about him every time he comes out to do that one joke is what's interesting, versus New Zealand is just like, okay, dude, I get it. You throw the fish.
Yeah,
big deal.
There's just so much to unravel there.
And maybe as we go on, we might learn some more about Crazy Harry and New Zealand that will redeem them in our eyes. But for now, Marvin Suggs' development has happened much faster.
Yeah.
So, what are you going to rate him?
God, he's so funny now. I think I'm going to rate him a 4.
Ooh.
I kind of love him.
All right.
I don't know. I might rate him a 4.5. I'm going to rate him a 4.5.
Wow. That is much, much higher than I expected. He has redeemed himself a bit, but not quite that much in my eyes. I'm going to give him a 40.
That's not very good at all.
I mean, it's better than the 25 or whatever I probably would have given him a week ago.
That's true. That's true.
Aside from some Muppet Show and some very unsettling Orson Welles show, Sam, did you have time to enjoy any non-Muppet things this week?
I didn't really too much. I've been still watching Boba Fett. I liked the last episode because it was an episode of The Mandalorian instead of an episode of Boba Fett.
It's not great when the best episode of your show doesn't have your star in it.
It felt like Bryce Dallas Howard was like, I don't want to make an episode of Boba Fett. I would like to make an episode of Mandalorian again, please. And they were like, whatever. We're bored of him too.
It felt like a weird backdoor pilot, like when the critic shows up on The Simpsons.
Exactly. I said to Rachel, it feels like we either haven't seen him, The Mandalorian, for 10 years, and you're supposed to be like, whoa, this guy's back. Or this is a pilot for a show that's existed for 2 years, way before the Boba Fett show existed. It was so weird.
Yeah. Well, and I guess spoilers for the end of that episode, because it's been a few weeks now since it aired, and hopefully if you care about it, you've seen it by now.
Yeah.
But the ending is even more bizarre, because this whole episode is the Mandalorian doing his shit. Yeah. And it leads to, oh, right, in the last episode, we had a tease that he was going to start helping Boba Fett. And so
Boba Fett's not even fucking in it.
No, but Fennec Shand shows up and is like, hey, we need your help. And he's like, well, for Boba, it's free. But I got shit to do. So
I got to go to space real quick.
I'm going to go make my 3rd season, and I'll meet up with you guys later. So I don't know if we're going to see him again in Boba Fett or not.
She should have said, Boba Fett needs you, right now.
Right. There are these weird parkour guys with shields that we need to beat up. Some aliens who are mad at us.
Yeah.
We need help.
God, I'm really hoping the other bounty hunters show up next episode.
Yeah, it's very strange. It was the best episode of the season so far.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the Star Wars, is my non-Muppet thing of the week is that I finished guest of the show, Brian J. Jones's biography of George Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
Brian J. Jones, not just a man who writes about Jim Henson. He also writes about other people. But I finished the biography of George Lucas that he wrote, and it's very good. If you ever, George Lucas is a very weird man. So if you want to know more about him, that's a great resource for that. And there is mention of Jim Henson in it because George Lucas produced The Labyrinth.
Because Jim Henson made Yoda.
Well, and there's also the Yoda talk of it, yes. But it talks about The Labyrinth and how sort of no one wanted to pay for The Labyrinth to get made, and George Lucas was like, I'll do it.
I know a thing or two about making stuff people don't want to get made. I will, at least in 10 years, but...
It seems like there was a thing of George Lucas's career that he was always sort of making stuff that in between the Star Wars is people were like, really? That's what you want to do? A sequel to American Graffiti? Ugh.
Did he make more American Graffiti?
Yeah. He produced
didn't
it
know
at
he
least and was like
Oh,
very
okay.
heavily involved in the production. It seems like a lot of things of
Weird.
when George Lucas is producing something, he's pretty much on set directing it, but not in name.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So before we go, we need to let you know what we're watching next week. Guess what? It's more Muppet Show. We're going to be discussing things that happened between February 15th, 1979 and May 10th, 1979, because they took a weird little gap between the second and third episode that we're going to be watching.
Huh.
So we'll be watching the episodes featuring guests Harry Belafonte, Sylvester
Ooh.
Stallone, and
Oh.
Roger Miller.
Okay, that sounds pretty good.
I think it's going to be a good batch. And we'll also be watching a segment from 60 Minutes that aired in March 1979, where 60 Minutes was there to go behind the scenes of the Raquel Welch episode. And we need to thank our friend Tuna for creating the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at Kermitment where you can find the links to all the things that we watch for each episode. And you can go to Kermitment.com to get your own Kermitment logo pin.
It's like an NFT, but real. And you own it.
Yeah, and
But you can use it for exclusive access to either of our homes for free, whenever you want.
I don't know about that.
You can sleep on my sofa.
You can sleep on Sam's sofa.
Yeah.
But you can email us at mail@kermitment.com if you have any Muppet memories or thoughts that you'd like to share with us. You can follow me on the internet at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.